Premier Planet, welcome to a special video presentation of the Premier Planet podcast, episode number 5. I'm Justin Barlow with Rockin Randy Ritchie, Premier COO. Rand, what's going on? You sound like you've had better days.
Oh, I'm trying to fight this flu. It's influenza A. And, Jesus Christ. Hit me hard. Okay, so our podcast 5, huh?
Yeah, podcast number 5.
We're going to figure this podcast thing out because there's a lot of guys in wrestling, wrestlers, wrestling personalities. Some are I like, some I enjoy. I enjoy most of the people that are doing them. Some of my politics might vary. You know what I mean? Like Cornette, I mean, he's a wild card. Always has been, but that's Jim's charm. That's Jim's gimmick. That's Jim. But I worked with him at TNA, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, you guys got a code that he lives by, and that's him. He's pretty damn loyal to it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and you can hear that code of loyalty come out on his podcast, which is incredibly popular.
Yeah, it's incredible.
For as opinionated as he is. I mean, he has a huge following.
And the people that hate him too. It's just like Howard Stern used to be in the '90s. And what about the people that hate Jim Cornette? You know what I mean? They probably listen.
I want to hear what he has to say next.
Exactly. The thing you got to talk about Cornette too, and I mean this in a very in the most appropriate way possible, is he's married to a hell of a woman. So if Jim Cornette was such an asshole, he wouldn't be with Stacy this long.
No.
You know? So that's something I want to say too. Then you got other guys that are getting a rub with World Wrestling Entertainment, which is a great thing. I'm jealous of it because we need that too. But what do we have that's different? I'm going to go ahead and say as a company, Premier Pro Wrestling, what does it have that's different? What varies from anything else today? And that's up here. You know, and I say that in a humble way because I'm not talking about me as the person, even though I'm cool and shit, I'm all right as a human being. I'm talking about where I've been, what I've done, and experiences that I've had. You know, because I've been in a lot of cool places and seen a lot of things. Like, for example, the one that, whatever reason, hit me today, World Class. Right before World Class Championship Wrestling closed down. And the Sportatorium, you know. So I mean that's something that you're not going to hear from too many people because not too many of them are around anymore, you know.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree. I mean, 30 plus years of experience this man has up here, and he may downplay what he has left up there, but you can see it every single week in the Premier Studio. I mean. And I think another thing we bring that's different is we don't rely on star power and gimmick appeal. You know, we have some we have our concept matches, which is something I think we're going to dive heavy into here.
Yeah.
But
people are responding to them.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, we're not going out there having hardcore matches and ladder matches, and our guys aren't putting their bodies and their careers on the line just to get a couple of cheap high spots in.
Yeah, and we're not spending 10 grand to make 5 grand.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah, anybody can draw 1,000 people with a handful of names that are out there. There's no longevity in it because if any names do draw that, it's short-lived. Everybody's going to book it as quick as they can. But at the end of the day, too, I don't know who bankrolls their little fantasies too, because like I say, you can't spend 10 grand to make 5 grand for too long, and just add the zeros, subtract the zeros, is exactly what happened at TNA Wrestling, in which I was production manager at its highest point. And when they fired myself and Jeff Jarrett and Dutch Mantell, the decline from there. You know,
I believe the term is stepping over dollars to pick up dimes.
I was saying that out loud at the time, and everybody was angry at me. And you know, I used to call the TNA fans, sympathizers. I try not to get angry with them, but I tried to appreciate that they so wanted an alternative to World Wrestling Entertainment, but at the same time knowing what I know factually, how those people operated, what the outcome was going to be. You know, so I call them TNA sympathizers, and a lot of people that worked at the company then, you know, told me, geez, you're Nostradamus. Everything you said was going to come true, came true. It happened, you know.
Yeah, and that speaks to the validity of what he has left up there that he often downplays. And going back to, you know, bringing in those big names, there was a company operated just kind of south of here a couple of years ago.
Way south of here, yeah.
Way south of here, yeah. Like somewhere around mid-Illinois.
Will County.
Will County.
It's still Metro Chicago, yeah.
Yeah, but they were spending thousands and thousands to bring in these big, you know, Hall of Famer level names. And a couple of years ago, they ended up closing their doors because they were stepping over dollars to pick up dimes. They were shelling out so much money.
Carter, you know, when I was at TNA Wrestling, they hired me to do a job, and you know, if you don't want to know, don't ask. And I used to tell them, I don't care how much money Bob Carter has personally. The reason Bob Carter has so much personal worth is he will take the write-off on this loser for as long as he can legally, and then it's over. He's going to pull the plug. Said that would never happen. That would never happen. You know, you can see it coming. And it's the same thing there. So, you know, the people, the differences between then and now are people are still clamoring for that viable alternative. Fans are still clamoring for competition base, which they were promised with AEW. And I'm not going to rip on AEW. You know, yeah, it could be easy. It's easy, you know, but in the same token, you got people who say, well, who is he anyway, you know? And it's not about that to me. It's about the fact that they promised people something that was competition based, and they haven't delivered that.
Right.
You know, they all the guys that they're using, Cody included, were based on the Japanese style wrestling. You know, where's the relationship with New Japan right now?
I couldn't tell you.
Nobody can. So at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to provide. We're trying to hit them where they ain't and provide that competition-based wrestling, taking a story, the story. At the end of the day, entertainment is about storytelling. If it's your favorite sitcom, if it's your favorite professional football team, if it's your favorite soccer team, if it's your favorite wrestling company, if it's your favorite wrestling individual, it's all about storytelling, and that's what we're good at as individuals, as a whole, and then taking people who tell the same story in a totally different entertaining way, and then putting them together and meeting in the middle. So we take the story and we add to that story, adding pop culture to it.
Yep. And storytelling it's sad. Storytelling is really kind of becoming a lost art in pro wrestling because everybody just seems to want to go out there and, you know, get as many quick cheap pops as they can, and like that kid who dove off the balcony at that mall somewhere and the video went viral. It's like, okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, respect to him for having the balls to do it, but, you know, what was the point?
Yeah.
Did it play into, how did it work into the story? I mean, you know, was it integral to the match? I don't think it was. Yeah.
Well, it's like, you know what's weird to me is how memes and vines, how like the kid is like Vine worthy, that was it. But how many vines are there, yeet, you know, that are forgotten about now? And that guy was his yeet moment. But, you know, whatever, God bless you. You need that stuff again in pop culture, but where's the longevity there? You know?
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
You know?
I think one of the keys to that is going back to the basics of professional wrestling, which you emphasize, which our guys for the most part are able to execute brilliantly when they're in that ring every week. Mm-hmm. Really going back to focusing on not just telling the story, but on doing it through actual wrestling. I mean, mat technique, ring work, footwork, making every single step you take count.
Exactly. Every single step you take count, and enhancing your style. I'm real good, and I've been real good at forecasting the industry for about the last 10 years. And the funniest things in the world to me, the three guys that I told the people that I train, and that's what Premier is about. It's about everybody that we've trained, that we are training. Almas, Humberto, Angel Garza. What are your most over fucking talents today on Raw?
Right now, well, wait, out of those three, or
Period.
just period? I would say those guys. I mean, they get some great pops. I mean, obviously you have your stalwarts. You got guys like Orton. Orton and Edge is hot right now with
That's
WrestleMania
cheating.
coming up.
That's cheating.
That's cheating.
I'm talking about new talent.
New talent. Gotcha.
People
gotcha.
that they
Missed
hardly know, that the company hasn't had to put that much money into branding.
Yeah. Okay. Missed that part.
You
Yeah,
know?
definitely. I mean,
What's
those
term?
guys.
Organic.
Yeah.
Organic.
Yeah. With the exception of Almas, I mean, Carrillo and Garza, those guys came out of 205 Live, and lately it seems like 205 Live's almost been like a death sentence. You go to 205 Live, you're never coming back.
Yep.
But those guys started in 205 Live, and it went in reverse. Now they're on Raw. Now they have a huge program going with Rey Mysterio and Almas, who's already an established star and is probably going to be a Hall of Famer one of these days if he can keep his head on straight.
And those right there, the prime examples I'm talking about. They spend all that big money on big guys and creative writers and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, your best storytellers currently are the ones that are most over, and both are under 200 freaking pounds, and that's what it's about.
Yeah.
I'm not condoning or saying the size has anything to do with it. I'm saying that in today's industry, by its own standards, who would think that those guys were probably the most compelling things to watch on Monday nights?
Yeah.
Guys that can get with the program and the storytelling. It's the same story as Humberto's version. It's the same story. It's Angel Garza's version. See what I'm saying? So we don't have to have this thing go forever. We just have to get consistent. And we're using Patreon. I've heard of Patreon, but I never really got down and dirty and understood the brass tacks of Patreon. And there's so many roadmaps out there that tell you how to use Patreon. But at the end of the day, what I love about all these roadmaps, the people that are going to rise above everybody else in their art form or their creative avenue are going to be the ones that are sincere. Because even Patreon and your people that draw you maps and are really doing well with Patreon say at the end of the day, the viewer sees through bullshit, and it's about sincerity and appreciation, So I may get cocky about certain things, but it's not like a personal cockiness, like I'm a better human being than anybody else. I've just been more places and I had my ears open. So when it comes to anybody that's subscribing and helping support us through Patreon, I appreciate it. If it's fans that buy a ticket, if it's fans that buy a t-shirt, if it's fans that subscribe to our Pivot Share to watch our wrestling, I appreciate it. I mean, even if it's somebody that doesn't spend a dime that hits like and subscribes on our YouTube channel, we appreciate it. But at the end of the day, we're going to show you that appreciation in a sincere manner by keeping it moving forward. This weekend, what is our focus? Our main event is the tag team match, right?
Yeah, main event is tag titles. Jose and the new world champion, Anakin, are going to put those belts up against Chase Gosling, the Armageddon champion, and Sensei, because the two of those guys earned the right to face Anakin and Jose for the belts in that single elimination random drawing tag team tournament that we had at PPW293.
And what's the undercard? Because at the end of the day, what I'm getting at is the undercard. What it's leading to is one of our original concept matches, which is part of that storytelling, combined with pop culture.
Yeah, what we've got coming up is a gauntlet, and this gauntlet is going to determine the placement, the order of entries into what will actually be Chase Gosling's first title defense as the Armageddon champion, the very first time the Armageddon title will be defended. And for those of you who don't know what the Armageddon Championship is, that is our Armageddon Gauntlet exclusive title. Whoever wins the Armageddon Gauntlet, which is a match that we've only brought out every once in a while in the past, now it's going to become a more regular thing because we are proud of this concept.
Yeah.
It's going to become a more regular
and
thing.
It's a good time. Like I say, it's a good time to bring it up or to bring it out and exploit it because you guys aren't being given that competition-based pro wrestling.
No.
You know?
And Chase Gosling, I mean, he's already bragged that he's got the champion's favor. He gets to enter the Armageddon Gauntlet last, but he's not going to know who he's going to be facing until it's time.
What is it? Tell them the concept.
So the concept of the Armageddon Gauntlet.
You put it more eloquent than I do. Even though I come up with it, I can't describe it as well as you do.
I've just been. You have any idea how many times I've repeated this description? It's like the concept of the Armageddon Gauntlet is you've taken a regular gauntlet match where two guys start, one guy gets eliminated, another guy comes in to take his place, so on and so on and so on until you got two left.
Randomly drawn.
Yeah, randomly drawn. And then at the end, the last man standing is your winner. Mm-hmm. What we've done with the Armageddon Gauntlet, and particularly for this Saturday, is in order to determine placement in the gauntlet. In the past, we've had battle royals. We've done it by random drawing. This time, we're actually going to pull the gauntlet aspect outside and have a gauntlet for placement.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, the less time that you have in there going against 12 guys, the better off you are at the end to face a nice, fresh Chase Gosling.
Mm-hmm.
But in the same token, you got them little engines that could, i.e. Anakin, you know what I mean, that could actually wrestle through 10 guys to get to Gosling.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But what the gauntlet actually is it's a gauntlet that's performed with the guys outside the ring serving as lumberjacks. Yeah. They're not in the back, and the fans don't know who's being called next, nor does the guy inside the ring. So you can use those guys to your advantage when you throw your opponent out over there and get the shit knocked out of him and throw him back in. I think even last time we did it, some guys used that and let him do the work for him, i.e. Connor Core.
Yeah, you know? I think we had 3 countouts last time. Connor used that to his advantage, and then Anakin and Jose were facing each other, and both had the lack of fortune to fall in.
I beg to differ about countouts. When you say countouts in indie wrestling today, or independent wrestling, what is perceived as independent wrestling, that's a bozo no-no because the fans see it as nobody wants to do the job or they're being lazy. No. What I'm talking about is that I think Connor Core threw someone out, let them get their ass whooped, and when they got their ass whooped, they got thrown back in. Connor Core came and stole the 3 count.
Oh, you're right. That's what happened.
Yeah.
My mistake.
No problem.
I was thinking.
It goes back to that storytelling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was thinking of what happened to Anakin and Jose, where both fell out of the ring, and the wrong parts of town. Both got the absolute hell beat out of them, and neither could get back into the ring.
Which was cool because then it restarts the whole thing.
Exactly. You know, and then we came down to our last 2, and eventually Chase Gosling, he won the Battle Royal earlier, so he was the last guy in. He had to go through 350 pounds of Jay Harris.
I don't remember all those deets, but I know.
To get there, but Chase Gosling, if it was the last man standing, he became the first ever Armageddon champion, and now he's going to have to put that belt up. He gets the champion's advantage. He gets to go in last when we have the Armageddon Gauntlet.
And if you get eliminated, what happens? You go back outside the ring, and you can still help determine who's going to win or who's not going to win by serving as a lumberjack outside.
Yeah, everybody's out there from bell to bell.
And it takes up the whole second half of the second half of the taping. I mean,
yeah. Well, especially when you have so many X factors in there. I mean, you put somebody like Anakin in there against somebody like Chase Gosling.
Or
you have 2 completely different styles that are clashing in that ring. Anything can happen.
Yep.
In that kind of situation. And then also you have to look at, Chase Gosling could end up facing anybody. It's going to boil down to, it's going to be a combination of that placement gauntlet. Who's gonna be able to go into that ring later in the match and be fresher?
Exactly.
And then who's gonna end up being the man to face Chase? I mean, Chase Gosling, for all of his experience, he hasn't been in there very much with a lot of these new guys. He hasn't been in there a lot with Tim Castle. He hasn't been in there a lot with DeMarcio. I venture to say he hasn't even been in there a lot with Connor Core, who, like him, love him or hate him, is one hell of a crafty competitor.
Yep, exactly. And quite entertaining.
Oh, God, yeah.
So that's what we got on tap for this Saturday night. So I guess the way we're talking now, you might want to bump whatever you have in the can to put this in there because we're kind of chronological. what we're going to try to do is follow suit with everybody else, and what that's going to be is this will pretty much be our podcast. We want to get it up and get it to Patreon first, to the people that support us on Patreon, and then the following week, a week later, it ends up on YouTube. But again, for sponsoring us on Patreon, you'll have that schedule where you'll get the podcast a week early.
Yeah. So again, you can wait for the podcast, but you're going to be a week behind if you wait for it to go up on YouTube.
And that's your hook. I mean, when you look at your guys like that are non-wrestling, and again, I'm talking about pop culture and storytelling, David Dobrik, unbelievable, this guy. And I don't even know if he has a podcast, but the stuff that he does, my kids love Dobrik, 2 out of 3 of them. And you can't help but watch a little son of a bitch and laugh their ass off. And I love the fact that he's local. The kid's from Libertyville or Grays Lake, which is right by my house. And you got guys like Cody and Noel and the Tiny Meat Gang, those guys are unbelievable for such young guys, and how funny they are and how they capitalize off of YouTube. And since YouTube pulled the plug on most of their income, how they rely on Patreon, and it works real well for them. The other thing is, on a monthly basis now, we're also going to be taping on a Friday. So anything we tape on Fridays are going to be part of the Patreon package or part of the tiers, to where you'll be entitled to a match or 3 of those matches for this much, or the entire, card for this much or this tier, along with the podcast every week, a week early.
Yeah. So what we're getting at, folks, is we are taking our Patreon to the next level. We're going to start not only offering you more content, content a week early, along with our exclusive content.
Yeah.
We're going to go from having just this one single $3 tier, which we just kind of use to test the waters a little bit.
Yeah.
And now we're actually going to start building some different tiers to allow you access to a whole wide variety of different options. Obviously, the more you contribute, the more rewards you're going to get. But we'll have that first tier. I think right now we're thinking, like a podcast and maybe an exclusive match.
Yeah.
And then as you go, that top tier eventually, as you said, when we do every Friday a month, those tapings are going to be Patreon exclusive, and
exactly.
You can get that entire Friday taping when we.
It's part of your sponsorship.
Yeah, when we launch these when we launch these multiple tiers on our Patreon at that highest level, you can get these Friday tapings in their entirety, and they're not going to be available anywhere else. They're not going to be on YouTube.
Yeah, but
they're not going to be on demand.
Make it worth your while.
Absolutely.
Make it valuable to you, and really try to be something, and somebody who grabs the ball and runs with it with sports entertainment or wrestling and Patreon. I saw something really cool, and I don't know, weigh in with your thoughts, get in touch with us if you want to. And the reason I don't know if you saw it on the video or not, but at the end of the day, I've seen the Patreon sponsors be described as almost like executive producers. So at the end of the day, at the end of these videos or these podcasts or whatever that art form is, be it music, sports, or gaming, they give their Patreon sponsors credit like they do a producer, because in a sense, that's kind of what your Patreon sponsor is he's an executive producer.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a pretty damn cool way for this old bastard to understand and comprehend it.
Oh yeah, and every contribution you folks make, that's a show of faith in what we're doing, and we want to live up to your faith in us.
And we will, trust me.
Yeah, oh yeah.
All my relationships, be it friends, family, romantical, if I decide to have those or not, I promise everybody that I'm going to meet you halfway, but I always meet more than halfway. So trust me, stick with us. This is really going to be good, exciting, and you're going to see some things that I think that you'll appreciate, and I know you definitely won't get anywhere else, because at the end of the day, this isn't about my ego.
Yeah.
And
we're still going to have, episodes of the podcast with your favorite PPW stars.
Yeah.
This coming Monday, March the 2nd, I sat down and did a really cool double interview with Jose and Anakin. Yeah. And that's going to be one to hear. You folks are going to want to hear that one. We're going to send you out those exclusive matches. Again, full Friday tapings when we do Fridays every single month. You'll get those exclusively on Patreon.
All right, let's wrap it up.
All right. All right, Mr. Influenza A here's getting cranky. So
cranky, that's an understatement.
So just to wrap it up, we want to say thank you.
Thank
we
you.
want to say thank you for showing your faith in us by supporting us on Patreon. And we want to say, please just sit tight. We're going to have so much more coming your way
And enjoy.
to make it worth your while. We're going to have those different tiers that you can sign up for. And we're going to give you a return on your investment. And that's a guarantee.
And enjoy.
Exactly. That's what it's about. It's
Talk
all about
soon.
enjoyment. We'll see you
Bye-bye
folks
now.
out there.